Watching News at Prime. Let's get into this now. Transport Minister Barbara Creecy has moved the implementation of the administrative adjudication of road traffic offences demerit system to July. This system was set to commence next month. Initially, the first phase of the national rollout was meant to take place in July of 2021, while the second phase was set to commence on the 1st of December 2025. The third phase was meant to begin in April of next year. Now, the department says the delay is due to problems during the assessment period, including the associated costs with the system. Now, the training of personnel is among the issues, including law enforcement systems used by various municipalities. All right, let's speak now to the Transport Department spokesperson, Collen Msibi, who is with us in studio tonight. Mr. Msibi, good evening to you. Thank you very much for your time. Let me begin the conversation this way. Out of 69 municipalities that we understand will basically form part of this, how many still need attention?
Well, let me put it this way. I think we've had to look at the assessment in totality, in as far as, one, the financial implication vis-a-vis the issue of the financial year. Because whatever program you start, you've got to align it with the financial year, including the national government. That's what happens. So there are municipalities that are ready to be able to implement. I don't have the figures with me right now, but there are those that are obviously not ready. When they start, probably they may have problems financially in terms of implementing the system.
Yeah.
So to answer you, the best possible way of dealing with this was to ensure that let's rather start on the 1st of July, which is the beginning of the financial year for the local government. And that's basically why we've had to take this decision, which then gives us an opportunity to be able to intensify the training of personnel, including the law enforcement officers, to be ready for this specific system. Remember, there's gadgets that are going to be used in this regard to be able to implement. So we've got to train the personnel, even the back office personnel, they require that kind of training.
Yeah. Let's talk about this in practical terms, therefore. When I say practical terms, there are people on South Africa's roads who may not necessarily be ready to drive. And that's because some of them have gone and bought these licenses. And so they frankly don't know the rules of the road. Those are the people that are endangering the lives of people. Those are the people that this demerit system is supposed to disqualify. As we speak tonight, a statement has just come through talking about a multiple vehicle collision on the N3. I think it's near Villiers. This is the N3 towards KZN. I'm not suggesting in any way that that was caused by that, but I'm just saying, I'm using this as an example to say there are drivers on the road who shouldn't be there, and the longer we see these delays with such a system, the more we are going to see these. Do you disagree?
Well, I absolutely agree. I think the reason why we started with this specific system was mainly to ensure that we clean our roads of those specific kind of drivers that we have. But we've got to balance, because you do not want to implement a system for the sake of doing it. If the practicalities on the ground say to you, the local government that is supposed to assist you with the implementation of this specific system, some of them are not ready. You've got to take that into account and take a step back and say, look, we've gone up to so far. There's been a lot of assessment in terms of the state of readiness. Starting from 2013, we've been checking with the municipalities. So I think we're at a point where we are quite confident that the system is certainly going to work. But you've got to look at the financial implications. Because remember, if you don't take that into account, therefore you won't have any kind of, what you call it, the tools of trade to be able to implement the system. And hence, the only thing that is major right now is to ensure that local government has the money to be able to implement. So while we take into account the fact that indeed there's problems on the road, but let's also just be practical in terms of, because we don't want, I'll be sitting here telling you that the system is not implementable in some municipality just because they've run out of money. So rather just do things properly and ensure that you allow, so that municipalities are able to budget accordingly. But it doesn't mean, therefore, that we are folding our arms, waiting for the 1st of July to be able to deal with the issues of road safety. On the 1st of December, or is it the 30th or the 1st of December, we're going to unveil a plan that is able to, for instance, deal with the festive season in terms of how we're going to deal with issues of reckless driving on our, and the change of the driver behavior on our roads.
Yeah. All right. So you seem to center this discussion around the finances, and that the municipalities must hit the 1st of July next year with sufficient monies in order to handle the implementation or the start of this system. Let's park that conversation on the side for one moment. What about the training of the municipal officials is not done or ready yet? Because there is that aspect as well. Am I right?
Certainly. The training has taken place to a very large extent. It's been done by RTMC. Credit to them. There's been a lot that's been done. But there was a change in terms of the regulation, which then requires them to go back. I think it's an assignment of numbers. It's quite a complicated way to explain it. So they've got to go and intensify that kind of training. But there's been quite a number of programs to train law enforcement officers, in particular by RTMC.
And
so we are not very much worried about the training aspect of it. We are at the tail end of it. So it is the matter of trying to intensify that particular training, and it gives us enough time to be able to do so. By the 1st of July, we should be, even that particular amendment to the regulation would have dealt with it. So that one is, as far as we are concerned, we've had to flag it because it is a reality that there is an aspect of training that still needs to be done in terms of the regulation. Because when you issue an infringement, we've got to assign it to a specific number. And I think that is where the amendment was. So we've also got to deal with that. But by the 1st of July, we should be able to deal with it.
All right. So your explanation, as I understand it, largely, you are satisfied that there is an adequate number of officials throughout these municipalities that are now fully trained on this. If there's anything missing, it's small areas.
It's to tie up the loose ends, basically.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's go back to the financial aspect of things.
Yeah.
What will municipalities be responsible for, and what will the National Transport Department be responsible for? I'm trying to determine where monies are possibly subdivided. There's a portion that is that you are responsible for as Transport Department, but largely are municipalities responsible for handling this financially?
Yes. The issue is that the department itself, we are responsible for the policy. When it comes to the amendment of the Act or the new Act, it is us. And the regulations, it is us. But when it comes to the implementation, we've got an implementing arm of the department, and that is the RTIA. Those are the guys that would then be responsible for this register, where if Koli has had his license suspended and so forth, it would be on that system that shows to everyone as to, okay, in terms of the infringements, this is how Koli looks. In terms of the suspension, this is how it looks. And then when it comes to the actual work and the doing and the issuing of infringements, that's where the local government comes in.
Okay.
So the monies would obviously go to what needs to be done. For instance, the issuing of infringements, when there's a letter that must be sent or an SMS that must be sent to you, that requires budget. The gadgets that must be used to read your license, that requires budget, and that is not national. That is at a local government level.
Okay.
So that is where that money would go.
All right. As we conclude the conversation, generally, the aim of the Aarto demerit system, how is it supposed to work? Take us from the moment that I get an infringement and therefore a demerit point to the point of suspension and ultimately cancellation.
Okay.
Take us through that.
First of all, let me say to you, the reason why we introduced Aarto, it was to decriminalize our traffic infringements. You would recall, even now, it's happening in other, except for Tshwane and Johannesburg. You go to an extent of even getting a warrant of arrest.
Right.
So with this particular system, we are basically simply saying that we're going to be issued there's 3 stages.
Yeah.
The first one, you are issued a notice of infringement. Within 32 days, go and pay the fine, and you will get a 50% discount. Or else nominate a driver. In other words, if it wasn't you who was driving the vehicle, you say it wasn't me, it was so-and-so. Right. And then that specific fine is allocated to that specific person. You've also got an option, that is stage 1. You've got an option to then maybe challenge the matter and take it to court. Okay? The second stage is when we issue a letter to you, a courtesy letter, to say, by the way, you owe this much. So, second stage, that's when you do not get a discount of 50%. So basically, you have to pay, if it was 500 rand, you have to pay the whole 500 rand. But secondly, you then also have an opportunity to nominate, if the car wasn't used by you, then you've got to say it was used by so-and-so, and then it's allocated to that particular person.
Yeah.
If you choose an option to go to court, you can do so. And then the last stage, that's when the order comes in, the enforcement order. In other words, you haven't paid, we've reminded you, you haven't paid, and then the final stage is to say, we are blocking you on the system.
And
and then when it comes to the demerit system.
Right.
The demerit system, you've got allocated 15 points. Once you go beyond that threshold, let's say you are getting into the 16th point, then we suspend your license. Suspend your license for 3 months, and you have to hand over your license to your issuing authority. And then, of course, after 3 months, then you have a reprieve. You can then drive again. But once you get 3 suspensions, and then your license, you take it away, you have to start from scratch.
Okay.
And then we also go through a rehabilitation process so that you go through a psychometric session and so forth. Artia can speak eloquently about that, but there's a number of things that they would have to do. So basically, that's what happens. So in this case, if we had started on the 1st of December, that would have come on the 1st of September, the demerit system. So now with the 1st of July, it means we've got to withdraw the proclamation which we have, which it says 1st of December. We've got to put a new one that says 1st of July. So, but we've got to factor in all this because we're going to start with the 64 municipalities on the 1st of December. 1st of April, it was going to be 144. And then the 1st of September, it was going to be the implementation of the demerit system. So we've got to then take that backwards to be able to say this is how we're going to implement, and that's going to be there's going to be a proclamation on that.
All right. I'm letting you go. I'm latching on to part of these notices when it comes to infringements. Right now, as we speak, I don't know if I'm the only one who's getting this, but I sense that there are other people who are also recipients of this. There are these Aarto infringement notices. Your notice has not been collected yet. Please collect by such and such a date at a certain area that is designated. I'm reading one as I talk to you from my phone.
Yes.
What are these? And are these to be taken seriously? Because at some point, I also got some in my emails where they talk about the actual fine and how this fine has not been taken care of and it is going to start increasing by such and such a time. Are we supposed to take these things seriously, or is there some kind of scam running?
Well, as I said to you, there has to be a courtesy letter. You have to get a registered mail, which does say that you've got mail that says you've got an infringement. You've got to go and collect that. So part of the lessons we learned from Tshwane and Johannesburg was that we've got to revisit the issue of registered mail. So you then have to probably get an SMS or an email to be able to get all these notices, because the registered letter apparently is more expensive, and there were complaints about that. But it is mainly about a registered mail that is you're supposed to go and collect, which says that you've got that particular infringement. I must say, there's one thing that I also want to say. The issue of having to go and challenge these matters in court if you don't agree with the specific fine. In terms of the Act, we are introducing a tribunal. Instead of going to court, you can simply just go to a tribunal. So it's going to be part of the implementation that we are introducing from the 1st of July.
Okay, all right. So I'm not quite certain whether I'm fully answered, but I think that you're probably going to get a lot more of these inquiries while we wait for the demerit system to kick in. Yeah. But there are these notices that seem to be pestering us.
Yes.
Go and pay. If you don't, you're going to get...
Yes. I think there are service providers who are doing those kind of things, which are being used by municipalities. That's why I'm saying you would have to invite RT to speak eloquently on those matters in terms of what are these. But as I say, it's registered mail that you have to get at the moment. So as far as I know, you're not supposed to be getting electronic communication that says that it has to be a registered mail.
All right. So at this stage, I think I'm comforted that possibly I'm being scammed, but I'm going to have to invite the other arm that you are talking about.
Yes, please do.
You call it.